skills. So all you have to do is observe things and count them up, which is going to help you all in developing your analytical skills as well. With this, let me quickly introduce myself. This is Trishita Majumdar here, and I'm a teacher expert at Cuemath with a teaching experience of 4 years. The subjects that I cater to is mathematics and reasoning, and the regions that I take up is India and US. Let's look into the table of contents for today. So we would be understanding analytical reasoning, the applications of it, and the objectives for today's session along with learning outcomes. So the first thing that we would be looking for is analytical reasoning definition. It says that analytical reasoning refers to the ability to look at information, be it qualitative or quantitative in nature, and discern patterns within the information. So what exactly is analytical reasoning? So basically it is formation of different structures, the elements of a particular figure. So let's say that I have a particular structure given to me. What all elements does it consist of? Necessarily does not have to be something related to math always, but today's session that we are going to have is based on most of the geometrical figures we would be dealing with. But in general, you could say analytical reasoning is something which defines how a structure is formed and what are the elements of it. And what's the way you are perceiving it? What's the way you are looking into the structures? Okay. So let's say that I have a given structure to me and it is made up of all straight lines. But we know that a lot of straight lines together also form squares, rectangles, triangles, and so on. So there might be situations that in that particular figure, there might be a lot of squares, rectangles, triangles, and different figures, different geometrical shapes. But the way you perceive might not be the same as I perceive. You might say the elements in terms of lines, and I might say the elements in terms of squares, rectangles, and triangles. So this is what is exactly known by analytical reasoning, the way you think. That's the major definition of analytical thinking, analytical reasoning, which we usually say that when a student is trying to work on aptitude or any kind of logical reasoning topics, his analytical skills improves. Why is that so? Because the more you work on these kind of questions, you would know the best approach to reach to the answer. So, for example, as I told you, there might be a figure which might have a lot of straight lines in it, and also the same figure may have a combination of different geometrical shapes. So now it is on an individual to say the figure elements in terms of lines or the geometrical figures. So there might be situations wherein if you try counting the number of lines in that particular figure, it might take a lot of time. Let's say that there are like 30 lines in the figure. Whereas when I try to express the elements of the same figure in terms of different geometrical shapes such as squares, rectangles, or whatever geometrical shape is present, then the work might reduce. I might see that there are just like 2 squares, 3 rectangles, and 1 triangle, something as such. So what exactly is happening? My analytical approach is different from yours. So when you're a beginner, you would go ahead with counting of lines, which is time consuming. But the more confidence you gain, the more practice you get, you would start counting figures, right? So ultimately, it's about the way you perceive things. Okay. It's about how you think, how innovative your thinking skills are. What's the best approach you go ahead with. Okay, so these are all the things which needs to be taken care of. All right, so with this, we would be moving ahead. So the next thing we would be seeing is its application. So the first thing is that it helps us in critical thinking. Critical thinking is one of the major sections of different exams you see these days. In fact, there are a lot of exams which has a section called as critical thinking. And in general, also critical thinking forms a major part of our life. Research and information analysis. The whole of research system is based on analytical skills. The whole of analysis, whatever models you make, whatever projects you take, everything needs a particular analysis. You must have heard different professions such as, data analysts, business analysts. What are these? Why are these analyst tags given behind their names, because every job requires an analysis, every work requires an analysis, and for all of these analysis you need to go ahead with analytical skills. Going to the next one, that is communication. Communication is again a very important application of analytical thinking. Problem solving and job interview. So I would say that the fourth and the fifth application are somehow related to one another. So when you go to different job interviews, that's when you would be given a specific problem solving question wherein you might have to give your way of solving it. So that's where the interviewer is not actually testing you whether you are able to reach to the solution or not only, but also you're being tested on how are you reaching to the solution, right? What is your approach? That's how your analytical skills are being tested. Because when you go to the practical world, the big problems and the big projects that you have in different companies requires a lot of such thinking. So the interview is basically testing you on basis of your thinking and also on basis of your different ways of approach and skills. So that's how it becomes important for job interview and problem solving as well. I hope that's clear. So with this, we would be going further. Let's see, we'll go to the objectives. So let's see our first objective, calculating minimum number of straight lines required to draw the figure. So given a figure to us, we would be checking the figure is a combination of how many lines. The second point says the calculating number of squares in the given figure. So we would be checking the number of squares in a given figure. As I told you in the beginning that we have different elements in a given figure. We could either see it in terms of number of lines or we could see it in terms of number of squares or other such geometrical shapes. The third one is calculating number of triangles and rectangles in the given figure. So this is our third objective. With this, let's proceed further. So here goes our first objective, minimum number of straight lines. The session is going to be very interesting. Stay tuned throughout the session. And all you have to know in this particular topic is counting, observation and counting. If your observation skills are good and if you know how to count, that's it. You know the topic well. Okay. So to make the session and to make today's class simplified, I have come up with some highlightings which could actually help you out to understand on how are we exactly going ahead and counting the number of lines or number of squares or whatever as such. But then when you are doing this in real time in your exams, in your, let's say, Olympiad exam, or if you're practicing it, I would also tell you another way to do it. You could always label the figures. You could name them as A, B, C, D or as such. And then accordingly, you could check how many line segments are present in the figure or how many squares or rectangles or triangles. As per the question, you can go ahead and try looking into the geometrical shapes. Okay. So let's see here how many straight lines are there in the figure, and here goes our options. So let's start highlighting things. Okay. The first and foremost approach for such questions are try observing the main geometrical shapes from here. And for that particular geometrical shape, count the number of lines. For example, if you all see here, we have a triangle which I could see A, B, C. Okay. So for this triangle, I'm going to check the number of lines here. So as you all can see, 1, 2 and 3. So from the triangle, we have got 3 lines. So let me write it down here. So I have got 3 lines from the triangle. I would be adding the rest of the lines to this. Okay. Now you can similarly try to figure out more shapes from this and just particularly focus on that shape and then try to see how many lines does that particular figure have. Okay. Because if you try to do these kind of questions by counting the number of lines, you might end up getting more number of lines. For example, this same line could be told as 1 plus 2, right? Correct? But this is not actually needed. I could say that this whole thing is one horizontal line. Okay. So that's what I exactly meant by first trying to identify the geometrical shape and then count the number of lines in that particular geometrical shape. Now let's see the next figure that we could see. We could see that there's a square here, 1, 2, 3. So we have three sides, and what happens to the fourth side of the square? We see that the fourth side of the square is a common line to the triangle ABC and the square. Okay. So I'm not labeling things now. So I'm sure that all of you must have understood how would you label and go ahead. That makes things convenient. Okay. So 3 plus, we know that this is again 3. I wouldn't be counting the fourth line once again because that was already included in the triangle ABC. Now let's try to observe the next figure. That's the triangle 1, 2. Okay, but what happens to the third side of this triangle? I hope all of you can see these pink lines. Now let's see what happens to the base of the triangle. The base of the triangle is basically a common line which is with the square, and that has already been taken into account, right? So I would be writing plus 2 here because the triangle's two sides has been counted. Going ahead, we would be looking into the diagonals of the square, which is again plus 2. So we have plus 2, and then moving further, we have the big horizontal line. As all of you can see, this is the horizontal line. So again, a plus 1, and then this is the orange color horizontal line. And next, let's see what. So as you all can see, with the violet color, we have all these vertical lines. How many such vertical lines has been highlighted? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have altogether 5 vertical lines which is being highlighted, right? So are we left out with any other highlights? No. The whole structure is covered. So now let's add them up all. 3 plus 3, 6, plus 2, 8, plus 2, 10, 11 plus 5, which is nothing but 16. Hence option B, 16 is the right answer. I hope the question was clear to all of you. So all you had to do here was to identify the given figures and accordingly count the number of lines in each of the figures. I hope that was clear to all of you. So everybody who is understanding this session, and if you're liking the session, please hit on the like button. And for others who are confused about it, I would request you to again watch the video, pause it and watch it once again. I'm sure that you would be able to understand. So with this, let's proceed further. Here goes our next question, which I want all of you to give it a try all by yourself. Find the minimum number of straight lines required to make the given figure. And as I told you that take a figure as combination of geometrical shapes rather than combination of lines. Because when you're able to identify the shape in it, you would automatically be able to count the lines in a particular shape. Okay, so that's the best and most convenient way to go ahead with such problems. And here goes our options. So let's see who gives the right answer on the comment section. Sorry. Alright, so let's start highlighting the figures. So here goes our first highlighting. As you can see that the square is being highlighted, and in total there are 4 lines. So let me quickly write it down. So we have 4 plus. Let's look into the next one. So we can see that it's a rectangle, and this rectangle again has 1, 2, 3, 4 highlighted with red, 4 lines. So we would again be writing 4 plus 4. Going ahead with the third one, we have the square which is highlighted with green once again, 1, 2, 3, 4. And till now we haven't found any common line between the shapes. Hence we are counting all the 4 sides of these figures. Okay. So plus 4 once again from the square, and then we have a horizontal line which is the orange color line. So plus 1. So let's see how many lines do we have in total. 4 plus 4, 8 plus 4, 12 plus 1, which is 13. So we have 13 lines in total, which shows us option A is the right answer to this. So I hope everybody is understanding on how do we identify different figures and then count the number of lines with respect to those geometrical shapes. So with this, we would be moving ahead with our second objective for today, that is on counting the number of squares. So this is nothing different from the previous questions, because even in the previous questions, we were actually counting the geometrical shapes and then we were counting the number of lines in each shape. In fact, now our work is reduced. We don't have to go and count the individual lines of each shape. All we have to do is count the number of shapes, the shapes in the given figure. Okay. So here goes the options, and let's start counting here. All right. So you have to make a note that the question that's being asked to us is nothing but square. Okay. No other figure has to be identified. This is not the number of lines question. This is on just counting the number of squares. So you have to just identify the squares here. Okay. So let's start. So you could see that the red highlighted one is a square. So which can be written as 4 plus. Let's go ahead with the next highlight. We have the blue square. So plus 4 once again. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. So we know that we do not need to count the number of lines. So we do not need to count the number of lines per figure. Okay. So you can simply look into the number of squares here. So we already figured out 2 squares. The third one, let's see. Okay, the green color highlighted is the third square. Going ahead with the fourth one. Okay, we could see pink. And then we have another pink. So we have the the two extreme corners as pink color. So till now we have found the red plus green. So let me just write it down. So we have found red plus blue plus green plus pink. And let's see the next one. What do we have? The next one would be the pink one again. So we have 3 pinks, right? Let's see if we have any more. No, we don't have. We have 3 pinks, and now let's see 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, 6, 7 blacks. We have 7 blacks. So we have 3 pinks plus 7 blacks. Okay. And after this, let's see the next one. We have 1 orange. Okay. So we have checked out all the squares in this particular given figure. So one thing which you need to be very careful about is such kind of questions cannot be observed only from one direction. You have to notice all the directions and then start counting. Okay. So you have 7 blacks and you have 1 orange. Okay. Plus 1 orange. So for all the colors that have not written any number is counted as 1. So altogether, how many squares did we have? 1 plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 plus 7 is 13 and plus 1 which is nothing but 14. So we have 14 squares in this particular given figure. Okay. So to avoid confusion, let me again write 1 red plus 1 blue which is 2 plus 1 green which is 3 plus 3 pinks. So 3 plus 3, 6 plus 7 blacks. How is it 7 blacks? You all can see the highlights. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. And plus 1 orange. Okay. So from here we see that there are totally 14 squares in the given figure. I hope all of you are understanding. Please do respond on the comment section. And you don't necessarily have to wait for me to give the highlights. All you can do is you could try to observe the number of squares or number of lines all by yourself and put it on the comment section. Okay. So now with this, let's proceed further and check out our next question. Count the number of squares in the adjoining figure. And here goes our options. So the question is very similar to the previous one. You have to count the number of squares in this. So let's start highlighting. So here goes our first one. As you all can see, it's the red one. So let me write it down. We have the red one coming in first. So we have the red one. And then we have the next one. Let's see the blue one, right? So we have plus blue. And then the next one is, if you all see that we have 4 such small boxes inside, 4 green boxes. I would be highlighting those. So all you could see is that we have 4 small sections of squares. So I could write that there are 4 greens. So there are 4 greens. And next, let's see if we have anything else. Yes, we do have smaller sections even to this red color square. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. So we have 4 violets as well. Plus 4 violets. Is there anything else which we have missed out? No, right? We have covered all the squares here. So let's count it up. 1 red plus 1 blue, which makes it 2 squares. 4 plus 2, 6 and 6 plus 4, 10. So we have in total 10 squares in this particular diagram. If you all are liking the session and enjoying the session, please click on the like button and share it with your friends. All right, so with this, we are going to go ahead with our next objective for today. So here goes our next objective, counting number of triangles and rectangles. Count the number of triangles and rectangles respectively in the given figure. So here goes your figure and here goes your options. So all you have to do is check out how many triangles are there. Okay, do not mix it up with triangles and rectangles. If you're taking up triangles, just make sure that you count all the triangles that's present in the figure. And when you're counting rectangles, make sure that you're counting all the rectangles in the figure. And then separate them, group them up, and then count them and check out which option goes the best. Okay. So first we are going to write for triangles. Okay. So this is for triangles and we have rectangles as well. Okay. So let me start counting. So here, as you can see, this is my first triangle. 1, 2, 3. So you can see that there are 3 red highlighted triangles. So we have 3 reds. We have 3 reds. Okay. 3 reds. And then let's check out the next one. We have 1, 2. 2 blues. Okay. So we have 2 blues here. And next, what do we have? Next, we have 1, 2. As you all can see that these are the pink highlighted ones. 1, 2. And then the below ones also 3, 4. Right? So these are the pink highlighted ones. So I could say that there are in total 4 pinks. Okay? And then moving ahead, let's see. So these are the maroon ones. 1, the smaller one, 2. And then we have 3 here, and then we have 4 here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, there are 4 maroons. There are 4 maroons. Okay. And then now let's check out the next one. We have 1 violet here, another violet going in like this. So we have 2 violets. So we have 2 violets. And moving further, let's see if we have any other triangle. Yes, we do have. You could see that there are 2 greens as well, the right angle triangle, right? So we have 2 greens as well. So let me just erase it down. So we have plus 2 greens. Now moving further, let's check out the next one. We have, as you all can see that there is another blue here and there is another blue here. Just the inverted right triangle, 1, 2. So I could say there are 2 blues once again. Okay. And then we have 1 yellow, another yellow. So 2 yellows as well. So 2 yellows. So altogether, how many did we count? 3 plus 2, 5. 5 plus 4, 9. Plus 4, 13. 15. 17. 19. 21. So we have in total 21 triangles. Now, as I had told you even in my previous sessions that whenever you have these kind of questions, try to eliminate the options. Eliminate the options as in that if you see option A, B, C, D, you know that there are 21 triangles already. So you don't even have to go ahead and count the rectangles, right? So you could actually go ahead and click on option C. But still, to show you, I would also be highlighting the rectangles here. Now we would be making a note of rectangles here. So let me write it down. So now we'll be going ahead with rectangles. I hope all of you are understanding the session. Okay. All right. So let's start here, the rectangles. So here goes our first one. As you all can see, the black highlighted one is a rectangle. So I could say 1 black. Okay. Next, let's go ahead. Going ahead with the next one. You could see that there's one orange highlighted rectangle. There's another orange highlighted rectangle. So there are 2 orange rectangles. 2 orange rectangles. Proceeding further, let's check out the next one. We have here, you all could see that there is one black rectangle here and again there is another black rectangle here. So I could see that there are 2 blacks once again. Okay. And then proceeding further, we have Yes. So here, let's see. We have the smaller one, the red colored one, 1, 2, and then the third one is here, and the fourth one, which is here. So altogether, we have 4 red rectangles, right? Okay, so let's count it up. So I think we are done with all the markings. We are not left out with anything else. So now let's check. 1 plus 2, 3. 3 plus 2, 5. 5 plus 4, 9. So we have 21 triangles and 9 rectangles. This is how we go ahead with such questions. You are very lucky if only one option has 21. But also I would say that, there are a lot of tricks to these kind of questions. Let's say that you know that the first number represents the triangles and the second number represents the rectangles, because that's what the order is given to us as. Count the number of triangles and rectangles. But I see that every time the number of rectangles is lesser than number of triangles, right? So one thing that you could have done is, instead of starting with triangles, you could have started with rectangles. But why is it that I did not choose to start with rectangle? Let me tell you the reason. There are 2 options which says that there are equal number of rectangles. That would have been a problem for me. So one filtration that you could do to the options is, first notice and observe the options. The kind of options that you have decides on the step you have to take. Okay. Let's say that the number of rectangles would have been different here. Then I would have definitely gone ahead and counted the number of rectangles first. Assuming that number of triangles are more in number, why would I waste my time counting in number of triangles? So that's one trick. Alright, and the second thing is, which I wanted to tell you all, is this option, none of these. Be very careful, guys. As I had told you some time back, since there are 21 triangles, so hence go with option C. Do not fall into the trap. There might be a situation that this rectangle might not be true. We might also have, and this only happens when there is an option none of these. If we wouldn't have had none of these here, then we were very sure that it had to be option C. Okay, so these are few things which needed to be kept in your mind. And also, how did I decide on counting the number of triangles first? Because I saw that the number of triangles is different in all the 3 options. So that would actually help me to understand which option would be the best appropriate option to this question. Okay, but since there is a none of these, I would recommend all of you to go ahead and check the rectangles as well. I hope that's clear to all of you. With this, let's proceed with our next question. How many triangles and rectangles are there in the adjoining figure? So here goes our figure and here goes our options. So let's start counting the triangles first, and then we'll go ahead and count the rectangles. Okay. And I again repeat, here it completely depends on you whether you want to go with triangles or rectangles, because there are a lot of repetitions of numbers. So I chose to go with triangles. You could also start with rectangles as you wish to. You anyways have to check for both. Okay. Because you have repetitions of number of triangles as well, and you also have repetitions of rectangles. Okay. So let's see. Here goes our first highlight of triangle. So as you can see that there is one red triangle. So we have one red. Plus, let's look into the next one. We have one yellow plus one yellow. And then we have plus one blue. So we have plus one blue. And then we have one green as well. So as you can see that using one triangle, I could actually see that there are a lot of triangles in this particular given figure. Inside the bigger triangle, you have a lot of smaller triangles as well. So you have one green as well. Okay. And now let's check the next one. As you can see that there's this pink highlighted triangle again here, which is the 90-degree triangle, and one on this side as well. So we have 2 pinks. So we have 2 pinks to go. And then let's check out the next one. So as you can see that there is one blue here and there is one blue here, right? So now I'm not going to write the colors anymore. I'll just keep adding the number of triangles. So plus 2. So I've highlighted both of these together. So one blue here and one blue here, 2 blues together. And then going ahead, we have 2 yellows together on both the sides. So plus 2 once again. And then we have plus 2 reds together. So plus 2 once again. And then we have anything else? No. We started with rectangles. So let's check. 1 plus 1, 2 plus 1, 3 plus 1, 4, 6, 8, 10 and 12. So now we are very sure that we have to go with the options which has only 12 triangles. And actually you're lucky. I just saw that these are 12 rectangles and not 12 triangles. So definitely option A is going to be the answer, right? If this would have been 12 triangles, then you might have had to check the rectangles as well. But yes, we are lucky enough that these are 12 rectangles and not triangles. So observation is again very important. Okay. So we have altogether 12 triangles. Let me also show you for rectangles here. So we are going to count the number of rectangles now. So if you see in the number of rectangles, we already had one black, the outer rectangle. Going ahead with the second one, we have this green, one green. There is another green, second green, the third highlighted, third green rectangle, and the fourth green. So altogether, we have 4 greens here, which is inside the bigger rectangle, right? Now let's proceed further. As you all can see that this is also a rectangle, the violet color highlighted one. And similarly, you could also have another one like this, which is the violet color highlighted one. And the third one also goes like this. So altogether, we have 3 violet color rectangles. As in first we took these single line rectangles, that's just one spacings. And now we are making a combination of 2 spacing rectangles. That is 2 bars is combining and forming one rectangle. Okay. Alright. So this is about rectangles, and anything else apart from this? Let's see. We have 1, 2, 3. So now we are combining 3 bars to form one rectangle, this red color. And there is another one which is the 3 bar rectangle. So I could say that there are 2 such rectangles. So 4 plus 1, 5 plus 3, 8 plus 2, 10, which is 10 rectangles. Okay. So all we have to do here is we first identify the biggest rectangle. Then we tried to observe the widths of it. Then we found that there were 4 single line rectangles or single bar rectangles. Then we tried to group it to 2 bars rectangle, and then we tried to group it to 3 bars rectangle. So it's kind of probability. You try to make different combinations. That's how you could assume it as. Okay. So option A is the right answer to this. So I hope the question was clear to all of you. And if there's any confusion on query, please do take a screenshot of the question and put it on the comment section, and we'll revert back to it. So with this, we are going to go ahead with our advanced level question. So here goes our first advanced level question. In the given figure, if the center of all the circles are joined by horizontal and vertical lines, then find the number of squares that can be formed. And here goes our options as well. Okay. So let's start doing it. Okay. So if you see this, these are all the centers. So let me quickly mark all the centers of this particular figure. Okay. So these are all the centers, and we are going to try to join the lines from center to connecting from one center to the other center and see how many such squares can be formed. Okay. So let's begin with it. So here goes our first one. Let's try this. So as you all can see that this is my first square, right? So this is my first square, and using the same center, I could also make another one, which is nothing but the second square. So we have 2 here, and then moving further, we have 1 joining these centers and 2 joining these centers as well. So we could see that from here we had got 2, from here we get 2. And now if you look into the central one, these are already joined. So we can only join these up. So this again forms a square. Okay, just the vertical lines would be enough. So 2 squares again from here. But apart from this, is anything else possible? Definitely possible. And let's see what is it. Okay, let me show it to all of you. Please carefully notice on what's possible next. Okay. So as you all can see, if you consider this 1, 2 and 3, 4. If you consider all of these 4 points, and if you try drawing a square, you could see that you could frame a square from here. So that means one square is coming in from here. Similarly, if you try to do the same with the other one as well, let's see that. You could say that this point, this point and this point. If you try joining all of these, you would also get another square which is being formed. Okay. So that means I also have another square here. So altogether, how many squares do I have? 2 plus 2, 4 plus 2, 6 plus 1, 7 and 8. So we have 8 squares here. I hope that was clear to all of you on how did we go ahead with the counting of squares here. Okay, so with this, we are going to go ahead with our last question for today. I want all of you to gear up and check out what's the last question for today. And if you did like the session, please do click on the like button. And if you do have any feedback about the session, you can always put it up on the comment section. Let's go ahead with our last question for today. Here goes our last question. Count the number of parallelograms in the given figure. For all of you who, I think, assuming grade 9th and 10th, I'm sure that all of you already know what a parallelogram is. A parallelogram is a quadrilateral with opposite sides being parallel and equal. Okay. All right. So here goes our options. So let's start highlighting the parallelograms from here. So this is our first one. As you all can see, this is nothing but the blue colored parallelogram. Let me start writing it down here. 1 plus, let's go with the second one. We can see 1 red, the second red parallelogram and the third red parallelogram. So altogether we have 3 red parallelograms. So I could write down 3 here. And then proceeding further, we have 1 yellow parallelogram which is going horizontally, and then we have another yellow parallelogram as well which is going horizontally. So we have 2 such parallelograms. And then proceeding further, we have 1 parallelogram which is a combination of 2 bars, as we were doing in case of rectangles in the last to last question, right? So 2 such 2 bars combining and giving us 1 parallelogram, and the same way we have another one which is being formed. So altogether we have 2 green parallelograms, and then moving ahead we have 1 orange parallelogram, similarly another orange parallelogram 1, 2, and the third one is below this 3 and 4. So we saw that we have 4 horizontal 2 bars parallelogram. So I could say that plus 4 orange parallelograms. And now let's check for the least one, that is the smaller ones, the blue ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So altogether we have 6 small parallelograms which we would be adding it up here. So let's add up all of these. 3 plus 1, 4 plus 2, 6 plus 2, 8 plus 4 is 12. 12 plus 6 is 18. So altogether we have 18 parallelograms in this given figure. I hope all of you enjoyed the session. If you did enjoy, please do click on the like button and do give your valuable feedbacks. With this, we would be winding up our session for today by looking into the learning outcomes. So we have noticed the figure carefully and counting them separately. So we have seen different types of counting of elements such as number of lines, counting of different shapes and so on. And also we have seen combining figures to form one figure. This is very important. Counting each step by step and adding them to arrive at a solution. So we have also seen different elements of a given figure and how are the smaller figures combining and helping us to frame a bigger structure. So these were the key takeaways from today's session. Now with this, I would quickly like to make an announcement about TUCO. So for all of you who are new to the session, let me tell you that Cuemath has introduced the Math Olympiad examination, which is in the month of November. It would be towards the end of November. So any of you who have not registered for the exam, go ahead and click on the link given in the description and register today. The registration amount is just 200 rupees. And using this, you would also be able to get the practice sheets, that is the curriculum designed by Cuemath, which would also help you with your preparation. And with all of these, you would also get a real-time experience of how an Olympiad exam is. Do not delay, register today. See you all in the next.